Have you ever felt like life is late for you? That no matter how hard you try, something important always slips away? That the good things that happen to others seem to go in a straight line, while yours go in circles until they get lost? If you felt this, then what I'm about to tell you might touch you in a way that no other explanation has been able to before. Because today you will learn why everything that is truly yours will inevitably find you. And moreover, you will understand that what is missing in your life is not there. It is the invisible correspondence between what you are inside and what you vibrate in the world. This may be the most liberating discovery you have ever made, and perhaps the most painful. Carl Jung, one of the greatest thinkers of the human soul, said that our destiny is not a fixed place, but a reflection of who we decide to become. And what our soul truly needs is already coming to us. But it recognizes us only if we are ready to accept it. Now breathe, because perhaps you are trying to impose what is not yet ready. Perhaps you are insisting on doors for which there is no key on your path. Perhaps you are spending all your strength trying to keep alive what is already trying to leave. And it hurts. It hurts because since we were young, we have been taught to fight to win. Not to accept, no. To knock until the door opens. To run before someone else gets there first. And in this frantic race, we disconnect from our own inner rhythm. We forget that there is a time that is not the time of clocks, but the time of the soul. How many times have you felt tired trying to make something work? A relationship, a project, a friendship, a plan. How many times have you caught yourself saying, "But I did everything right. Why hasn't it happened yet?" The answer may lie in what Jung called synchronicity. Synchronicity is when seemingly unrelated events meet at a certain moment, revealing a hidden meaning. It's not magic, it's harmony. That's when the universe says, "Now you are ready." But if now is the right time, why do we despair so much about the delay? Why do we suffer so much when something doesn't come in our time? Because the ego wants it now. Not the soul. The soul has its own purpose, and what is truly meant for you does not come when you force it. It happens when you align with who you were born to be. But no one teaches us this. We are taught to run, to compete, to compare. We are taught to measure our lives by other people's rulers. And we forget that what is ours does not need to be taken, it needs to be welcomed. Life begins to change. When you understand this difference, Jung said that our soul attracts what is necessary for our evolution, not what the ego desires. And this changes everything, because what you want most is not always what heals you most. Sometimes what you want comes from fear, lack, the need to prove something to someone or to yourself. But the soul wants growth. True wholeness. And therefore, it only brings what will shape you, not what will numb you. Maybe that's why life is so quiet right now. Maybe that's why things aren't happening the way you expected. Because what is meant to be yours is still waiting for you to become who you need to be to receive it. Here lies the biggest problem. Wait without getting lost, trust without proof. Follow, even when it seems that nothing is moving, because the universe does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you are. And you can say with all the words that you want true love. But if deep down you are still afraid to show yourself completely, it will not come, because true love does not find masks. It only recognizes naked souls. You can say that you want abundance. But if you live vibrating in scarcity, in guilt for receiving, life will continue to reflect exactly this field. And here is the question that can change the course of your journey. What if what you are waiting for is simply waiting for you to stop chasing it? Yes, it seems contradictory, it even seems dangerous to assume this in a world that constantly demands action from us. But Jung was not talking about passivity, he was talking about presence. Being so whole in yourself that you no longer need to strive for what should belong to you. You just found out. It's like that story where you stop desperately looking for something, and then in the silence of giving up, it finally appears. Not because it gave up, but because it stopped forcing. There is a deep difference between chasing and agreeing. The first comes from fear. The second comes from trust. And perhaps this is what is missing. Trust not in a romantic or blind sense of the word, but trust as a radical gesture of love for yourself, as a conscious choice to no longer deny yourself trying to please, adapt, justify yourself. Because what is meant to be yours does not require desperate efforts, it requires truth. And the truth is that you are already tired of being half. Tired of fighting so hard to keep what should flow. Tired of insisting where there is no reciprocity. And perhaps this tiredness is not a sign of failure, but an invitation to transformation. Maybe this tiredness is the soul saying, ready, now it's time to trust. But trust what? Trust that everything has its time. Trust that what didn't happen was also protection. Trust that life will not go the wrong way when you stop running from yourself and when this certainty begins to bloom. Even if it's shy, even if it's insecure, something inside you changes, you stop running. Start walking. You stop asking. Start deserving. You stop asking. Start choosing. And in this new inner field, things begin to align. Slowly, quietly, but with a strength you have never felt before. The right people appear, the right doors open, silence becomes the answer. And you realize that what is truly yours has not gone anywhere. It was just waiting for the moment when you would stop moving away from yourself. This is the beauty of the destiny that Jung believed in, it is not imposed. It is revealed, and it is revealed only when you are ready to see it. Not with your eyes, but with your soul. And perhaps you are wondering now, but how do I know if I am on this path of alignment or if I am still stuck in the old pattern of trying to control everything? To understand what truly belongs to you, you need more than just beautiful words. It requires diving, a deep dive into your own story, your quietest desires and truths that you have avoided facing. Are you ready to go deeper? Because that's where the reunion with everything that is looking for you lies, beyond your own transformation. Perhaps you are living in this moment right now. The moment of almost. Everything was fine, but something got stuck. It should have been, but it didn't happen. And here lies one of the most difficult experiences of the human soul. Learning to respect the timing of events when everything inside you demands urgency. You wake up every day trying to keep the faith. You strive to be better. You go to therapy. You try to meditate. You help everyone you can. But even so, something is always missing. As if life is supporting you, as if the winds no longer blow in your direction. And deep down you begin to wonder, is something waiting for me or has it already passed and I've been left behind? These questions don't just arise on dark days. They seep into the details, in the silence of someone who doesn't answer your messages. In the interview that seemed right but ended with the words, "We'll be in touch." That call you were waiting for and never came in the absence of hugs where there was once presence. And the cruelest thing is that all this often happens simply when you are trying to do everything right. But does life reward effort? Or does it respond to something more subtle, more internal, beyond what we can see? Carl Jung said that behind every disappointment lies a chance to change direction, but in practice it is difficult to agree with this. Imagine a 47-year-old woman named Helen. She has been married for 15 years. She gave all her strength. She tried to keep the marriage quietly, without fanfare. She swallowed words, waited for changes, cancelled herself. When she finally found the courage to leave, she felt that her life would finally begin. But months passed and nothing happened. The invitations didn't come, new love didn't appear. The freedom that seemed so sweet now weighed heavily. And then the bitter question arose, did I make a mistake by leaving this? Maybe what was meant for me stayed in the past. But Jung told Helen, no. That she hadn't made a mistake. She had just been called to the crossing. The crossing of an old identity and a new version of herself that is still being born. But the birth of a new identity requires silence, and silence hurts. It makes us face old wounds hidden under routine. It makes us deal with the echo of our own choices. And above all, it calls us to stop trying to control the timing of events. The time of the ego is the time of immediacy. The time of the soul is the time of maturation. And until you accept this gap between what was and what will be, anxiety sets in. You start forcing reunions that should stay in the past. You accept invitations that have nothing to do with you just so you don't feel lonely. You relive old dynamics just because they are familiar to you, even if you know they don't suit you. This is the old cycle. Insisting on what hurts just because you haven't learned to wait for what heals. But waiting is not inertia. Waiting is the silent test of trust. It's like a seed that is underground and doesn't yet know that it is already sprouting. The problem is that no one teaches you to wait with faith. They teach you to run without stopping. Victory will be produced. But who said that victory is synonymous with achievement? Sometimes winning means saying no to an invitation that could harm your peace. It means closing the door before the same pattern of behavior comes back and hurts you. It is choosing solitude, even when everything pushes you into the crowd. You, who are now 38, 52, or 64 years old, have already been through a lot. There were times when you were surrounded by people and still felt lonely. There were periods of abundance when the inner emptiness was deafening, and he lived simple days but full of truths that touched his soul in a way that no one else understood. This is the thermometer. The quiet truth. It never lies, and it always shows you the way. But there is a dilemma. How to know if what is not happening is protection or sabotage, because the line is thin, very thin. You may think you are protecting yourself when in reality you are hiding. You may think you are trusting time when in reality you are paralyzed by fear. You may say that you are waiting for yours when you have already given up, even without realizing it. And then something important comes. Awareness. Don't wait. While you wait, you will have to transform, because what should be yours will find you, but it needs to find someone whole. And wholeness is not born in a day. It comes from the no that you say bravely. From the tears that you allow to fall without shame. From the authenticity that you maintain, even when the world doesn't understand. That's when you will begin to stop chasing love and start being love. When you stop striving for success and start living with purpose, when you stop wanting to be right and start wanting to be truth. And it's not easy, but it's necessary. Maybe today you are like Paul, a 59-year-old man who after retiring felt an emptiness he had never felt before. He had time, he was healthy, he had a cozy home, but the feeling of uselessness gnawed at him from within. It was then, in one of the moments of silent despair, that he remembered the guitar standing in the corner of the room. He started playing, just by touching it. No expectations, no performance. 2 months later he started giving free classes to the neighborhood children. Paul didn't plan this, he just followed an intuition born in the void. And in this simple gesture he was found not by magical destiny, but for a new version of himself that already existed and just needed space to appear. And perhaps this is what you need right now. Space. Space to listen. Space to let go. Space to relearn to trust the invisible, because it is in it, in the invisible, that the new is organized. But how to do this in practice when everything inside you demands immediate answers? This is where many get lost. The mind wants control, the soul wants delivery, and between one and the other chaos arises. But there are ways, subtle, small, quiet paths, but transforming. And so, if this message has touched something inside you, I want to give you a simple but deep invitation. Take 5 minutes of your day, 5 minutes to listen, to understand, to tune your inner compass to what you feel, not to what the world demands of you. This is the starting point. And with this in mind, the ebook O Mito Lud Jung Praktika, which can help you in a light and intimate way to create this space within yourself. You can find access in the pinned comment to this video along with a QR code that you can scan directly from your TV, laptop, or tablet screen. Just point your mobile phone camera and let this reunion begin, because the truth is that you are not lost, you are just coming home. Follow. Let's talk about how you can recognize in everyday life the signs that you are beginning to vibrate at the frequency of what truly belongs to you and how the universe responds when you finally stop denying yourself. In life there comes a moment when we stop asking, why isn't anything happening? And he starts asking, am I the one who is not yet ready for what he asks so much? This change of question is like passing through a mirror. Suddenly you stop blaming the world, time, people, and begin to understand that perhaps the block is still within. It is at this moment that life begins to transform subtly. But how to know if you are really vibrating at the frequency that belongs to you? How to understand if you are creating the space that needs to be found or just repeating the cycle of distancing in another form? The first clue is what you tolerate. What do you silently accept? What do you swallow so as not to be bothered? What do you refuse to not be alone? The purity of your life today is directly connected to the microchoices you repeat every day. What you watch, who you live with, what you consume, what you pretend not to see. All this creates a field, and this field communicates. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious not only shapes our behavior but also attracts, unnoticed by us, what most corresponds to our inner state. Have you ever wondered what your inner state attracts? I'm not talking about positive thinking, not even the superficial law of attraction. I'm talking about the atmosphere of silence that you maintain when no one is looking. This is what shapes the encounters. It is she who chooses the conversations. Ultimately, it decides who stays and who leaves. And here comes a delicate moment. You choose or you are chosen by the same old emotional repetitions. Because sometimes what seems like destiny is just repetition. Repetition disguised as novelty. You meet someone new but the dynamic is old. Start a new job but the disappointment is the same. If you move to another city but carry the same pain, it's because your purity hasn't changed. And if it doesn't change, the script could be different but the story repeats itself. Pause here. Take a deep breath. Have you ever experienced this? If so, share in the comments a situation where you noticed the repetition of this pattern. You don't need to fully expose yourself. One sentence is enough. This can help other people recognize themselves. Now, is there a way to break this? Yes. But not in the way it is usually taught. It is not about affirming the opposite of what you feel. It is not about pretending gratitude while you bleed. It is not about trying to look strong while everything inside demands rest. It is about recognition. It is about truly listening to yourself. Not as a project to be solved, but as a soul in the process of reunion. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in recognizing, I still don't know how to change, but I no longer want to stay the way I am. This is the first step, and it is gigantic, because from here you begin to notice the signs that your purity is increasing not because everything around you has changed, but because you have stopped denying yourself. You begin to understand that some people simply disappear from your life. No struggle, no drama, they just disappear and you feel relief, even if you don't understand why. You notice that some places where you were once welcomed now make you uncomfortable. Noisy, empty environments disguised as parties, meetings that require too many masks. You begin to prefer silence. And in it you hear yourself better. And then almost as if by magic some beings appear. People who speak the truth, conversations that touch the soul, ideas that make sense without much effort. It's not magic, it's the field. You have changed what you emit, and therefore you change what you receive. But there is a price to pay for this transition. You will lose. You will lose some old connections, some fleeting pleasures. Some labels that no longer work, and it will hurt. There will come a time when you will want to go back. Go back to what is known. Go back to where you were told what to do. Go back to where you could hide. And here you need to remember, the purity of what belongs to you recognizes you only when you also recognize yourself. You cannot live in truth while still depending on the approval of those who do not see you. It is impossible to move to a new phase carrying the guilt of the previous one. You cannot move forward out of fear of leaving what will not return. Perhaps this will be the turning point of your journey at the moment when you decide to stop chasing and start walking with yourself. But tell me, what are you still forcing today? Write it boldly in the comments. No judgment. Your report can be the starting point for someone to understand that they are also insisting on what no longer suits them. Now come back here with me. Have you ever noticed that some things just flow when you stop trying to control them? That specific answers come when you let go of the question? That certain doors only open when you stop knocking on them every day. This is the principle of synchronicity. It's not about crossing your arms. It's about aligning action with inner silence. It's about doing it without getting lost. Wanting without deceiving yourself, waiting without canceling yourself. Your presence when you are at peace carries a certain strength that does not need arguments. It convinces by what it is. And this strength is what attracts what belongs to you. But be careful. Not everything that comes easily is true. And not everything that requires effort belongs to you. The difference is in what it awakens in you. If it expands you, it's a sign. If it squeezes you, it's noise. Are you ready to filter this, to stop following what shines outside to listen to what vibrates inside? Because this is the choice that changes everything. When you say no to what doesn't resonate, you create space, and the universe does not tolerate emptiness, it fills it, but it fills it with what it finds. And if you are whole, it returns wholeness to you. Now take a deep breath again. What else do you need to let go of to truly be found? Don't answer me just like that. Answer for you. And if you want, write in the comments a word that defines what you are letting go of. It can be the name of a feeling, a habit, a story. This simple act of writing already changes your vibration. Don't underestimate the power of words when they come from the heart. I will show you how conscious detachment is a bridge to reunion. And why let go? Often it is the greatest gesture of faith you can make for yourself. And if so far something has resonated, if something has moved you, perhaps what is yours is closer than it seems. Perhaps it is just waiting for you to accept the truth that quietly lives within you. Have you ever wondered how many things are still in your life today just because you are afraid to let them go? Not for love, not for kinship, more for the costume, out of habit, for that inner voice that whispers, "What if I never come across something like this again?" It is curious and at the same time cruel how much we cling to what hurts us just because the unknown scares us more than the familiar pain. Carl Jung said that the soul does not want what is comfortable. It wants what is true. But living by this truth requires a strength that almost no one talks about. The courage to let go. Perhaps you are now at this crossroads, sitting between two paths. The one that represents everything you know but can no longer stand, and another that calls you but is still too dark to see the ground, and then you get stuck. It is a quiet, almost invisible moment, but it defines the course of an entire life. Most people do not choose the new. Not because it doesn't make sense, but because the old offers a security that seems familiar, even if it is toxic. Did you know that according to research by neuroscientist Dispenza, about 95% of our daily thoughts are exactly the same as the day before? Now think with me. How can we expect real changes in life if thoughts, behaviors, reactions always remain the same? It is not time that changes the situation. It is the choice to stop repeating what makes you sick and start letting go of what is already won. But letting go is not so simple. Letting go is a process of mourning. And we don't always need to let go of a person. Sometimes it's an idea, an attachment to an old version of yourself, a dream that no longer speaks to who you have become. Can you imagine how many decisions in your life have been dictated by the fear of losing rather than the desire to find? How many times have you stayed in a place where you were clearly no longer welcome just to not face the void later? How many times have you decided to continue out of fear of feeling rejected, even though you knew there were no changes? These questions are not accusations. They are an invitation. An invitation to look more honestly at everything you carry out of fear of emptying it. There is an ancient story of Persian origin about a traveler who crossed the desert for several days without water. Tired, he found an old dry well and, looking inside, saw a small shadow at the bottom. With hope, he descended, sliding down the walls, and there he found a jug. When he lifted it, he realized it was empty. Moreover, the well was so narrow that he could not climb up with the jug in his hands. But he hesitated. He had spent so much time searching that he didn't want to let go. He stayed there for several days until finally he let go. And only when he let go did he have the strength to climb back to the surface, where right in front of him was a source hidden by the dunes. Sometimes you get stuck not because life is blocking you, but because you don't want to leave the empty jug. And this jug can have a name, it can have a smell. Perhaps it has a memory, but it no longer has life. The truth is that what should belong to you flows. And what stretches is what you are asked to leave. This does not mean that everything that requires effort is not worth it. But there is a huge difference between effort and wear. Effort strengthens, wear consumes. Have you ever felt that you are putting too much effort into maintaining something that doesn't return even half of what you give? Well, know that this is not love, it is attachment. And attachment is the most sophisticated prison that exists. It is disguised as loyalty out of gratitude about a constructed story. But what it really hides is the fear of absence. And sometimes what you need most is not to continue but to stop. Because every time you let go of something that no longer belongs to you, life frees up space. It may take some time, it may hurt, but it opens up. Did you know that a Harvard University study tracked the behavior and mental health of hundreds of people for 75 years? To try to answer one question, what makes life fulfilling? The answer was simple and unexpected. Good relationships, not success, not fame, not money. But did you know that the study also revealed that good relationships are only established with those who have learned to say no to the bad ones? In other words, it is not only what you seek that defines your life. It is what you accept. It is what you continue to feed even though it is long past time to stop. And here is an even more curious fact. In 2024, the WHO announced that the level of anxiety disorders in the last 3 years has increased by more than 25%. And most cases are not related to specific traumas, but to persistent contexts. That is, environments, relationships and habits that we insist on maintaining even though we know they make us sick. The pain of continuing can be more dangerous than the pain of leaving. But why, even knowing this, do we still stay? Because we are afraid of the break from the space between what happens and what has not yet arrived. It is in this space that most people retreat. But it is here that the miracle happens. Transformation does not come when everything falls into place. It is born when you support the deconstruction of what was, when you hold on tightly inside the chaos, believing that on the other side there is something that is not yet visible but is already pulsing. Perhaps what you need to let go of today is not so noticeable. Perhaps it is an idea of yourself, a role you have learned to play. The strong savior, the too good, the one who never makes mistakes. But if this role costs you peace, it has already become a prison. And are you willing to give up the emotional security that these roles offer to feel the lightness of truth? Think about it carefully. You can continue, of course. Continue to carry the weight on your back, repeating, "Everything is fine," while you sink. Or you can stop now and decide to let go. Let go of what weighs you down. Let go of what holds you back. Let go of what has already expired. And let go with respect, with gratitude. No war, because not everything that goes away is a loss. Sometimes life just makes way for what really should happen. Get ready. Let's understand what happens in the gap between letting go and receiving. How to keep hope while nothing has yet blossomed. And why trusting the transition can be your most intimate form of faith. For now, breathe, and ask yourself deep down, what are you waiting for me to let go of to finally free me? There comes a moment on the journey when everything falls silent. You have already let go of what was holding you back. You no longer run after it. You no longer insist on what cannot be opened. You already understand that what should be yours will find you, but nothing happens. And then comes the most difficult stage. The emptiness between what has gone and what has not yet arrived. Here many turn back. They confuse silence with abandonment, absence with rejection, waiting with failure. But what no one taught us in school, or in religions, or in family conversations, is that silence is not absence, it is preparation. Carl Jung said that every process of individuation requires a descent. A phase in which you lose your references. Logic dissolves. The old desires no longer make sense, but the new ones do not yet have a form. You have a break, and the intervals in the soul are like the pause between inhalation and exhalation. Short, but fundamental. But the time of the soul is not the time of clocks. Sometimes this break lasts for weeks, sometimes months, and in some cases even years. During this time, life seems indifferent. Friends leave, opportunities diminish, enthusiasm fades. You look around and ask yourself, where is mine? But what you may not realize is that what is yours is already on its way. What is experienced is not destiny. It is your sustaining ability. Life wants to know if you can remain firm even without seeing the fruits. Will you continue to vibrate in your truth even when no one applauds you? Will you remain whole even if you don't know what comes next? There are no ready answers to these questions, but they shape your purity, and your purity shapes your reality. In the process of personal transformation, there is a quiet, curved one. It happens when you no longer identify with who you were, but you still don't have the confidence to support who you are becoming. It's like changing skin. It's uncomfortable, it's vulnerable, it's not, but it's necessary. Have you ever observed how nature deals with waiting time? Butterflies, before flying, need to untangle themselves inside the cocoon. Literally, it dissolves. Your body turns into liquid. It needs to die to what was before being born to what will be. And nature does not rush this. There is no impatient butterfly. There is an exact time. Not before, not after. So why do we humans think that life should give us everything when we ask for it? Because we have been taught to move the world, but not to trust the world. And this is what you are learning again. Trust that even when it seems that everything has stopped, something is being organized. But don't be fooled. This phase is not passive. It is internal. While outside everything is quiet, inside you something is being rebuilt. New values, new desires, new ideas, and above all new versions of yourself. You begin to understand that you no longer want the same conversations, that your time has become too precious to waste on empty entertainment, that your energy no longer accepts superficial exchanges, that your soul craves presence, not promises. It is here that the real alignment begins, and with it come the answers. Subtle answers almost imperceptibly, but deeply. A phrase said by someone unpretentious and touching an old wound. A vivid dream pointing you in a new direction. A feeling of peace when visiting a place you have never been before. You begin to feel synchronicity. And this does not happen when you force it. It happens when you listen. Listen to what your body says, what your intuition signals, what your silence speaks. Because before what belongs to you finds you, you need to find yourself. And this meeting does not happen in the noise of checking accounts. It happens in the calm of someone who has stopped running and started walking with meaning. But let's be honest, this path is tiring, and it's normal if sometimes you feel like giving up. It's normal to feel lost. It's okay if you doubt for a few days. The important thing is not to stay in doubt. It is knowing how to return. It is remembering, even on the darkest days, that inside you there is something that has never been erased, something that whispers even when the world screams, you are still on the path. And yes, it is. But what now? What to do while yours has not yet arrived? You strengthen your field. You treat yourself with respect, you tune your purity. You live as someone who is already worthy of receiving, because you do not attract what you want. You attract what you are ready to support. So perhaps what is missing today is not a sign from the universe. Will you learn to maintain the vibration even when the universe is silent? Perhaps you are missing the certainty that you are closer than ever, even if it doesn't seem so yet. And perhaps, and this is the most important point, you need to understand that what should be yours does not come to complete you. Come to reflect you. Come to show how much you have grown, how much you have healed, how much you are finally ready. So in the end, destiny is not a prize, it is a reflection. And you? What is reflected in the world? Now that you have come this far, I urge you not to stop at this stage. Now I am going to take you through a detailed practical and step-by-step guide on how to apply this in real life. Everything that has been said so far. The most sensitive moment of this entire journey has arrived. You have entered within yourself. He felt the words echo in places that may have been silent for years. Perhaps at some point you cried quietly. Perhaps you felt that for the first time someone put into words what you could never explain. But now it's time for something even more important. Turn understanding into action. Turn listening into choice. Turn reflection into life. Because every truth that does not become practical becomes heavy. Any wisdom that is not applied becomes just another unattainable ideal. And what has been said so far, by me, by Jung, by his own soul, will not be very pleasant, it will be real. And the real begins when you decide to act differently. Even if it's small, even if it's little by little, even without certainty of the result. That's why I want to give you now a strategic plan for practical application. A simple and detailed step-by-step guide to everything that should belong to you can find you, but not magically, in a true sense. Step 1. Demarcation, freeing up space for the new you cannot be found if you are surrounded by noise, distractions and ties that take you away from yourself. Choose 3 things to be silent about today. The first habit that drains you emotionally. Double the contact that you maintain only out of fear of absence. Third, the automatic procedure that keeps you on autopilot. The new only comes when the old has the humility to leave. Disconnect what disconnects you, not out of anger, but out of love for what can be born in you. Step 2. Listening, recognizing the signals of the soul. Everyday life speaks to you, but you need to learn to listen separately for 5 minutes a day. And just listen, don't listen to the judge, listen to the greeting. Pay attention to what your body feels, what thoughts repeat themselves, what emotions arise frequently. You cannot change what you do not name, and you cannot change what you still pretend not to see.